Alrighty, I'm Ash from Virtual. I'm very excited to be joined also by Mark and Zane from Rocketeer Careers. I recall, Mark, when I first met you, when we were talking about the virtual campaign, your storytelling abilities is definitely something that I was completely amazed by. So I'm going to throw to both of you guys and get you guys to introduce yourself and tell us a bit about yourself and your background.
Okay, thanks, Ash. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, my name is Mark Dance. In another life, I used to manage large-scale exploration programs looking for clean energy deposits throughout Australia, where we're basically a travelling circus, carting everything with us from location to location. And I guess my experience there was at a higher level management of operations and logistics, and one of the regular problems that we encountered out there was being able to get our operations resupplied, and that's what led to Rocketeer. And so for the last 6-7 years, basically switched careers, launched a research phase of the business to try and investigate if there was a gap in the market there, and if I could fill it, and how I would fill it with that. And so that's what I've been actively doing for the last 6-7 years, is basically building Rocketeer up to where it is now. I'll hand over to you, Zane.
Yep. Hey, everyone. First of all, thank you all for joining. We're kind of pretty excited to have all of you. Well, my name is Zen, and I've been working with Mark for the last several years. Before that, I've worked as a product manager on several startups. So my entire professional career has been working with startups of one sort or the other. And we've taken a lot of projects from the ground up all the way to mass market. So that's really my area of expertise. And of late, I am currently based in the US, currently in San Francisco, and working with Mark through the awesome, amazing miracle of technology halfway across the world.
Oh, this is fantastic, guys. I've only known you guys for a few months, but I can tell you from a virtual perspective, we've always been completely amazed by how efficient you guys are and how cool you guys are at getting your stuff done. And we was now sitting at over 350 EOIs and counting. And it looks like your offer is about to close early next week. And this is very, very exciting. So I'm going to let you guys jump into the presentation. But before then, to everybody that's attending the webinar, I'd recommend using the Q&A function in the bottom to ask any questions at any time. And once the pitch deck presentation is completed, we'll then move ahead and take any questions from the audience. Alrighty, take it away, Zane, Mark.
Rightio. Okay, so the concept behind Rocketeer is essentially providing customers with a cost-effective and reliable solution for their businesses. Initially, when the initial concept of the business, it was more of a peer-to-peer sort of service, but as we've progressed, we've sort of identified that our market fit really is in the business-to-business sector. The Australian pickup and delivery services sector is worth around 6.1 billion. I guess what we've identified as our fit to market is the express side of things. We've got there's quite a few competitors. The logistics sector is very competitive, but what we've found is that businesses are really looking for a reliable, cost-effective solution for express delivery, and so that's what's led our focus for the business. We think that the platform that we've built delivers that. We've made it very simple, but for people that are not technologically competent, I guess, they can log in with a matter of 2 minutes, have their deliveries booked, and a notification that a driver's accepted their job, and away they go. In the Greater Hobart area at the moment, we have an average delivery time of 41 minutes for general freight. for food deliveries that the majority of which are in the evenings, that's around the 20-minute mark from the time that the job's booked to the time that it's been delivered. And we allow a bit of lag time there. The restaurants will book it before the food's early to account for the time it takes the driver to get to the shop. I guess with the in the nutshell here, we founded it in August 2015. That's the time that I finished up my other life as a project manager, and undertook a period of research. So I purchased a van and took a contract with one of the major logistics companies here in Australia. And for about 14 months, drove that van with a journal in the front seat with me, just recording my notes daily, interviewing various customers along the way, and just recording my own personal notes as a driver. And what I identified from that essentially became the Rocketeer business model. And what we found is that for years and years, the logistics industry has been cutting their price to outcompete each other, and it's got to the point that the service is just not the same as it used to be, because everybody is trying to do it so cheaply now. It's just not possible to deliver on the level of service that customers expect. For instance, I used to find that we would drive around packages in the back of the van for 4 or 5 days, just because the amount of money that was being offered to deliver that job, we would take a personal loss if we actually made that delivery at the time. An example of that's an envelope between one school and another. For instance, you might have been paid 75 cents, but it was 30 kilometres one way. And obviously that's just not cost effective. And so those packages would just drive around the back of a van, which is where you can see everybody's frustrations with the logistics sector. They've got a tracking link. They know that it was out. They know that it's only going 10 or 20 kilometres away, but because everybody's chasing the best price, unfortunately, the downside of that is that the service has just dropped off. And so that's where our fit and our problem solving, I guess, comes in. We've found a price for the market that our customers are happy to pay. It is a bit of a premium on the same day service, but it's not so expensive that it turns them away from using it, particularly with our 1 hour guarantee, and the knowledge that that driver is only making that delivery at that particular point in time. So from the moment it's picked up, it's being delivered straight to the customer, and we've taken the mystery out of it with the live tracking and all the notifications for both the sender and the receiver. And because of that tight chain of custody, being sender, driver, receiver, over that period that we've been operating and the 50,000 odd deliveries that we've done to date, we haven't put an insurance claim in, and we've replaced, it would be no more than a dozen deliveries, more so just for customer retention and satisfaction, less so perhaps it being the fault of our guys. The model lends, there's just no room for hiding. You're not one package in the back of the van amongst another 20 or 30. There's not 4 or 5 people handling it at a courier hub, getting picked up, dropped off, between guys. So there's just no room to hide if there's something wrong with the package. And because we're paying the drivers 85% of the fare, they're not feeling the pressure to have to really knock out package after package. If there's somebody not at home, they're getting paid well enough that they can stand by for a few minutes while we sort out with the customer what they'd like us to do with it, or where they'd like us to leave it, and things like that. So we're not having the issues that you tend to see with the other guys, where a parcel's thrown over the fence, or a return card is left to say that they weren't able to find anyone at home. We just don't have those issues, because the drivers are being compensated well enough to be able to just make that one delivery and stick it out. What's the next one, Zane? What have we got there? The landscape. So the competitors that we have in this space, there are many. When I say many, there's about half a dozen similar operators, I guess, in our space. Our main point of difference is that we're truly focused on the express. So what you'll find with the Sherpas, the Go Fetch, the Drive Yellow, the guys in that space, they have many different offerings, whether that's their drivers making the purchase for you and then making the delivery, or a 3-hour service, a same-day service, an interstate or an overnight service, hire one of their drivers for a whole day, use your drivers but use their operating system. We're just truly focused on the express, and what we found from that is that we don't get the majority of the issues that a lot of those other guys still do, by them operating in the same space as people like your FedEx, your UPS, your DHLs, your Star Trek, by offering the same day, that they end up having exactly the same problems that those guys have with lost packages not being delivered on time, and packages driving around all day until there's enough packages to make the delivery warranted. With the Uber Eats and the Deliveroo, they're only a fairly small overlap. The food delivery services that we offer, we never truly focused on that. That was more from COVID, which we found. We picked up a lot of restaurants, pubs, cafes, catering people that quickly realised by using Uber Eats and Deliveroo and Menu Log, they weren't actually making any money. It was essentially just a marketing exercise for their business. And so the moment that bums weren't on seats in their restaurants and cafes, essentially they were working for free, or in some cases at a loss. And so we, at the start of COVID, without advertising it, we took a lot of inquiries asking if we could, provide that service for them. Our platform is set up with the same technology offerings that those guys have, but just without, a page, Rocketeer Eats, for instance. We just don't have that. They're guys, they just set up with a tablet or from their computer and just book the deliveries that way. And they take the orders through their own system. And from that, with our fixed price delivery, they were able to split it, essentially 50-50. So they could charge the customer $4.96 and they would pay $5 themselves, which on a $100 order meant that they were about $25 ahead in earnings than they would have been if it was Uber Eats or Menu Log or one of those guys. The other guys in the platform there, the TNT and the Sendles, that's way out of our league. The only overlap we have there is we get a lot of rescue missions from customers, particularly mainland freight forwarders, who will contact us to tell us that their freight's been stuck in the TNT warehouse for the last 7 days, they've received 4 unable to deliver cards, and they basically vent their frustration with us and get us to go on a rescue mission to get it out and make delivery straight away to the customer. And the flexibility of our platform allows to change the delivery address or the delivery circumstances accordingly. It doesn't have to be the original address that was booked. We can deliver it to the workplace or to a friend's house or whatever the customer's instructions are. It's a little bit harder for these other guys with their operating systems to be able to pivot and re-deliver to different addresses. Their systems are just too big and too many checks and balances in place for them to be able to do that. So where are we next, son? Well, I might hand over to you for this one, Zane. This is a bit more about the platform and the operating system.
Sure. All right, thank you, Mark. Now, so I'm going to try and take you guys through the evolution of our platform from the time we were doing maybe 10 deliveries a week to the thousands of deliveries that we're doing on a regular basis now. So initially, owing to my background as a product manager, we realized early on that the best way to take this project forward would be to take an MVP approach, which is where we build a minimum viable product. And we bootstrap our development process just to make sure that we have the right product market fit for the solution that we're offering. And going into the market based on our assumptions wouldn't be a great idea. That would just perhaps prolong the development process and bring more hurdles than solutions. So we wanted to make a very nimble, flexible software. And that's where the MVP approach really came in handy. And over the course of the first year or so of development, we made quite a lot of changes and revisions to our product. And for example, we saw that people are very frequently using the tracking link for themselves, but also forwarding those tracking links to other people who might be interested. It could be their friend, family, or anybody who's interested in tracking the location of the package. So we decided that this is a branding opportunity, and perhaps we should use our tracking links to brand our product and those kind of UI and UX changes. Then over the course of time, we also realized that businesses have shown a much greater interest than we had initially anticipated. And that's what prompted us to build some features in that would make it easier for businesses and stores and supermarkets to make their deliveries and book those jobs on our platform. And over the course of those iterations, we finally arrived at a product which was ready to launch. And that's when we launched about 1.5 years back. And soon after launching, in a few months' time, in about 6 to 7 months, COVID hit. And that's where things became quite interesting for the platform. We saw usage increase by 1,000%, which was amazing. But from a technology point of view, we weren't ready for that. And it kind of happened overnight, just when the lockdowns were starting. And at that point in time, we discovered that our server capacity is being exceeded. We're not able to service as many requests as were coming in. And we made changes to the platform. In a matter of days, we were able to scale our applications so that we could service all of those increased deliveries. And interestingly enough, we even had some hacking attempts once we went live with our updated apps. So, I mean, we look at all of those things as something that is a growth story, because when you're being attacked, when you're facing such growing challenges, it tells you that you're working in the right direction. Having 1,000% spike, having a server crash, having hacking attempts, all of that points us in the direction that we're doing something right and we need to keep working. Eventually, right now, we're at a place where we feel that we have a product which is very well suited for not just individuals, but especially business customers as well. And the development activity that we've been undertaking over the last several months has been more in terms of quality of life improvements to the app, more in terms of adding supervisory and management functions so that on the ground activity can be automated to a great extent. And there's very little human manual intervention involved. And we're kind of in a position right now where we're ready to expand. We have a product market fit, as we believe. And adding new regions to the platform is simply as easy as making 5 clicks in 30 seconds. That's how ready we are to take the app to different regions. And that's really the purpose of our crowdfunding right now, because in Hobart, we've got a very good level of success where we are currently. And I think Mark will speak to that soon. And our future steps forward include things like optimizing our cost margins even to a greater extent. We're already very efficient in terms of how we're using the application, how quick we are, and also in terms of our finances. Because of the fact that we've bootstrapped, we've been very cautious and responsible with the money that we've had available for the project. And we're going to continue on that path of responsible allocation and use of all the resources that we've got. And from a technology point of view, what we believe is that technology is something that's going to allow us to make the platform further and further more efficient. For example, we're spending a lot of time manually entering jobs into the system, creating. So if a store, for example, if a store has to create 50 jobs, they currently have to create all of the jobs manually. That may take about 50 minutes. Now that's a waste of time. If you put it in dollar value, that's 1 man-hour spent creating jobs. And that's where we see potential for technological solutions to increase efficiencies. And a few things that we're working on currently are actually aimed at solving those problems. We're currently beta testing our API, which allows the store with an existing e-commerce website to plug in the API from Rocketeer. And whenever a customer places an order on the store's existing e-commerce website, those orders are automatically created in the Rocketeer backend. And then there's no human intervention involved in that entire process. So building such quality of life improvements, we're already trialing some of these solutions with some of our partner stores. And we'll be continuing to build further plugins for pretty much all the most common e-commerce platforms out there, such as there's Shopify, there's WooCommerce, there's Xcart, and all of those. The idea is we want to make Rocketeer a standard checkout option in terms of delivery. And in order to do that, we need to make sure that we are compatible with as many platforms as we can. And that's what we're working on currently from a technology side of things. Apart from that, the other thing that we're also planning to work on in the near future, is our web platform and the Android build. Now, this is something I'd really like to highlight over here, which is we've come this far to about $500,000 worth of revenue without having a web platform and without having an Android build, just one single platform on iOS. And what that tells me is that we've got a lot of room to grow ahead of us. We've got a pretty big runway. And if we just launch on those new platforms, that should increase our revenue and that should increase the usage of the app without even doing any further marketing, which actually is another thing to highlight, that up until now, we haven't really had the need to do any marketing at all. It's all been word of mouth. It's all been the quality of service. And it's mostly the timelines in which we deliver products. And that's really where we're headed from here on out, which is increasing our reach and accessibility across different platforms, and making sure that we're staying very closely connected with our business customers and individuals as well. And I guess the most important point that I like to make is that of late, we've had pretty good confidence in our product in terms of a product market fit. And the question that I like to ask myself is, how do I determine if we have product market fit? Is that if the business were to close down immediately without any notice today, would it severely hamper a lot of businesses? Would it affect a lot of customers to such an extent that they would be severely disappointed? And I think the answer to that is yes. We feel that our businesses and our customers have come to really appreciate the product that we've provided, the service that they get through Rocketeer. And it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that it is a core aspect of their day-to-day operations and day-to-day lives. And yeah, I mean, that's really what we'd like to bring to other cities now that we've got a successful model in Hobart. The idea is to replicate what we've done in one city to other cities. And that's what our entire future plans are. And we feel that we're in a position where we're ready to scale to that extent. Mark, would you like to add your thoughts on how our business customers and how our individuals have been using the application and what their feedback and comments have been?
Okay, well, I guess the easiest way to do that is just, I can perhaps give a snapshot of just this morning's deliveries that have happened to date. So there's been around 60 grocery deliveries so far this morning. We've delivered a sofa. We've delivered some scientific samples from Hobart to Launceston for one of the large aquaculture companies. We've delivered a pallet of tiles for a local tiler. We delivered some flowers to a gravesite at the local cemetery for a 80-year-old widow it was her anniversary of her husband's passing, and she's unable to get to the cemetery anymore. So we delivered the flowers to the gravesite. That was a bit of a challenge. It took about 20 minutes to provide to work out and find the gravesite, but that was something that we did. We've delivered around 20 flowers and gift hampers. We've done a couple of bottle shop deliveries. We had a new customer sign up this morning, a new florist. Her delivery driver called in sick and she wasn't sure what she was going to do. She actually heard us talking on the radio this morning. So she downloaded the app, and within 5 minutes of her downloading the app, she'd put her first job through, and she's put another 3 through since that point, which sort of gives you an indication of how quickly people can go from not using the service to using the service, I guess. The automotive, I think we've done, but the last check, it was about 30 automotive deliveries for around half a dozen local garages and automotive suppliers, Bursons and Motors, Repco service agents. That's just cutting filters and bumpers and things like that to bodyworks and to mechanics. I think that's about what we've done so far this morning. But that's, I guess that gives you a pretty good indication of the variety of the jobs. Oh, and a cake. We delivered a lady has a regular pickup that she books once a fortnight for her favourite chocolate cream cake from the local bakery that she can't get to. So we deliver that for her. Yeah, I guess that gives you a pretty good snapshot of the different kinds of customers that we work for. I guess to sort of touch on Zane's point earlier about the not having that budget for marketing and relying on word of mouth, what we had to do is really just over-service the customers that we did have, which is just a matter of answering the phone when they call, or making sure that there's never any issues with their deliveries, and from that we've grown organically by delivering for one business and to their customer base. Their customer base gets exposed to those really express delivery times, and with the tracking links going out to them, and then being able to watch it and know exactly where the item is that they're waiting for, and how far away it is. It just gives them that great confidence, and it helps them, I guess, be more informed in their day-to-day operations of the business. If a customer's calling them, asking them for a timeline of when the product will be in, or when their car's going to be off the hoist, that they're able, just with the tracking link alone, and knowing that we provide that 1 hour service, they can accurately quote these times to their customers, which improve their customer service. They're able to be more informed with their customer base, and so with that, we have found organically that by delivering for one, ends up delivering. We end up delivering for more of their customers, and then those new customers, we expose their customer base to the app as well, and that's how we've grown. We just didn't have the budget to market, so that was the strategy, and it's worked really well for us. We just let our customers do the promoting for us, and then on the flip side, because there is another large part of the app, and that is the drivers. And by providing them support when they need it, and always being, we're very transparent. Our app is incredibly transparent with the delivery, so it'll come up with the delivery details, the pickup location, the drop-off location, and a fixed price for the delivery. There's no price range on how much they might earn, or the gross total, but they're only netting a certain amount. What it displays on the app is how much they're getting paid, and there's no pressure for any driver to accept the job, but they know that if they're not quick to accept it, that somebody else will. But it's transparent. They can see the price, they can see where it's going to and from, and it's entirely up to them to accept it. And so from that side of things, I think they appreciate the fact that the decision for the delivery is entirely up to them. They're not getting threatened with being kicked off the service if they don't take a certain amount of deliveries a day, or if they don't take a delivery that's close to them. They may have plans, whether it's lunch or they've got another job they've got to go to, and so there's usually a reason why they haven't opted to take it, and it's not our position or place to tell them when and what they should take. And I think that's where we get a lot of loyalty from our drivers. We've still got drivers on the books that started when we first launched, and I think they appreciate the service side of things, because it is a volume-based business. The larger jobs, doing one large job in an hour, is probably equivalent to the hourly rate or more in a lot of cases. But for the smaller things, the flowers and things like that tends to be a bit more of a volume. They need to sort of do 2 or perhaps 3 in an hour to get that rate. So if they're held up and we're not providing them the level of support that they require for those deliveries that they may get to with a locked gate or a big dog in the front yard, or the customers put the wrong address in, or all kinds of scenarios, if we're not available to take their call and support them and help them work their way through it, then they just lose interest. And that's what the feedback we've got from most of our drivers is that is one of the big aspects of driving with our service that they appreciate, that they know that there'll always be somebody there to take their call and help them work through any of the issues that they're encountering. I guess that probably about wraps it up. I guess we sort of hand over for some questions if anybody's got any.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for that, Mark and Zane. I'm always so impressed with both of you guys when you guys talk about the business. And given that you guys are so approachable and down to earth, despite actually running a fantastic business, we've actually got quite a few questions from people.
Oh, just give us a second. I'll just grab a quick drink of water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. Yeah, let's get into it, I guess.
I'd just love to sort of hear a bit more about your journey before we sort of jump into the questions from everybody else.
As in from where we first started, I guess.
Business, that's right.
Like I sort of touched on earlier, I was working in a completely different field, although a large part of that had to do with operations management and logistics. But I guess I'd sort of, I was just starting a young family at the time as well, and it was sort of, I guess, at a crossroads in life. Do I continue on doing what I was doing, which I must admit I loved. It was a fantastic industry and job to be part of. There was no work day was ever the same, and you're always in a new location. I got to see lots of the country, but having a young family, or just starting a young family, and the idea, I guess, of watching my children grow up over Skype wasn't all that appealing. So there was sort of a decision to be made there as to what to do. Do I head back to university and study in the field, or you go and take up a trade, or do I actually start taking the idea that I've been sort of toying around with for a while, and actually do some serious research and just I guess work out if it's even possible to do it. And from there, really I had to pitch. The hardest pitch that I had to make was to my wife. It's which, you know, she was amazing, who you know, to support me in allowing to do that. And so yeah, that's what we did. We bought a van, a contract, and started the research phase. And as we went on, we got more and more confident that the idea had real value and merit, and that there was a fit. We still had to work out certain components of it, of how we were going to make it all happen. But we had a really strong basis, I guess, for doing that. And then that's, I guess, where you know, I met Zane, and we got together, and then we started piecing it all together. And then from there, at the conclusion of the research period, I took a night job as a milkman, which essentially allowed me to work. I'd work from midnight through till about 9 o'clock in the morning, and then which freed me up for the day to get stuck into the stuff for Rocketeer. And then Zane and I worked together, basically in, you know, agile development mode, just building small pieces of it at a time and testing it, and just making sure that what, you know, the idea that we had in our head was, you know, coming to fruition in that stage of the build. And then we just kept going from there. And we got to a point where, like Zane mentioned earlier, we had the MVP. And so from that point, even just with a lot of the interviewing I did in the early days, and a lot of the contacts I made whilst I was doing the milk run, just through natural conversation, you know, the people expressed interest to be part of a trial period, and come on board. So we approached, when we were ready, we approached those guys, and then we undertook a closed trial period. I ran a dummy ad on Gumtree one night there for drivers before we were ready to run this trial period, and I had to pull it down within 12 hours. I just couldn't keep up with the responses. So that sort of boosted the confidence in knowing that for that side of things, there was definitely the driver side of things was going to be taken care of. And then, yeah, so for that 6-month period, we ran the closed trials, and we basically just kept in constant feedback with the customers and the drivers. They give us a call if they found an issue with the app. We'd basically just send them a list of sort of short survey questions, just asking them to rate the user experience from either side, and just provide genuine, honest feedback. Sometimes it did hurt, when they said, look, it's just shit, it's just not working, that aspect of it that you built. But they were always happy to offer from their side solutions, the way they saw it, and they weren't always applicable, but there were quite a few times where there's some feedback from a customer or driver, some of their suggestions was, sort of, you sat back and you thought about anything, they're right, that's how it should be. And so that's the approach we took, and made those changes. And I think those early guys, I think they really felt part of it, I guess, when we were building it, because they almost became part of the development. They could see that the input that they were putting in, they could see in 3 or 4 weeks' time there was some, that those changes had actually been implemented according to some of their suggestions, which I think sort of gave them a bit of a buy-in. Felt like that they felt like they were part of the business, I guess. And then so from there, after the closed trial period, we did a we had our launch. And like Zane, I think touched on, we started out sort of doing 10, 15 deliveries, a day. And then we've got to the point where we are now with, well over 50,000 deliveries, just predominantly from the greater Hobart area, with very little marketing or advertising. But that's my my journey to this point, I guess. So yeah.
It's absolutely fantastic. You guys spoke extensively about the 1000% growth you've had through COVID. We've actually got a question here around how many % of your customers actually come back to you.
Yeah, okay, so that's a good one. So what we found, and this was, I guess, a marketing strategy we had. So it cost, I think it cost about $150. We printed off 10,000 free delivery cards. And what we found is that we weren't picking up much business from Facebook advertising or radio or the paper or any interviews we've done. What we found is that going and visiting a business and offering them 5 free delivery cards, not putting the hard sell on, just saying, this is our service, this is what we can offer, this is our price point, here's 5 free deliveries. Feel free to use them. And what we found from that is that any business now that uses our service at least those 5 times, we have a 98% retention rate for those business customers. And the ones that we have lost has been due to their circumstances, whether the business is closed or they had multiple locations and we were doing their stock transfers for them and one of the locations is closed down or things like that. The peer-to-peer side of things, it's similar, but because them not being a business, it's just not that same frequency. So what we'll find is a customer might come on and use our service to get some food delivered or deliver a forgotten lunch for their kids to their school or something along those lines, and they may not have the need to use the service again for 6 months or something like that. But what we found with our business customers is predominantly, if they're not using it daily, they're at the very least using it on a weekly basis, depending on the style of business they're running, and I guess the model, whether it's more about to do with stock transfers or whether it's to do with delivering to their customer base.
Absolutely. It's fantastic. We've actually got 2 very interesting questions from Peter and Frank that talk about very similar things. So just keen to understand what your rollout strategy is, whether you're going to be targeting the bigger places or the smaller towns, and whether or not you're going to be able to keep your promise of 1 hour guarantee.
That's a very good point. So the focus is more for the regional areas, I guess, to start with. Because Hobart being a regional area, what we found, there's obviously less competition because the other industry players, are more interested in dominating the bigger markets. But what we found is it's a lot easier to entrench yourself in people's everyday business because we can guarantee that 1 hour service and because we can have that organic growth and keep up with that level of customer service. To crack into some of those bigger audiences, you're talking some serious dollars to really get the marketing and to get a foot in the door there. We've already got quite a few business customers here in Hobart that are national, and they've already intimated that they're going to once we roll out to these other locations. They'll get us a foot in the door with their stores there. But essentially, we're sort of looking at targeting the more regional areas just because they're often underserviced. And it's a good way to start building the driver base and the customer base and then work our way back in once we've already established ourselves to a certain point. It could take a lot of capital. So if for instance, try to crack straight into the heartland of Melbourne with so many other competitors, and the layout of the city. Things like the toll roads, the fact that, for a lot of the deliveries, they use bicycles and things like that. We'd rather sort of replicate our model in other regional areas, and then as we're growing, work our way back in that way, and really get bang for buck, I guess, in what money we raise, putting it to the best use. And it's better to replicate what we're doing here in a regional area, although the markets aren't perhaps as big, but it's still an audience we're capturing, and we're getting ourselves established, and then it allows us a lot more freedom to slowly roll out to the bigger market, I guess.
Yeah, so that's fantastic. It looks like you guys have got a very clear rollout strategy, and that really leads on to the next question from Callum around how much it would cost for a customer using Rocketeer to send a parcel, say 10 kilometers away, and how you calculate this rate.
Oh, yeah, okay. So it's for here in Hobart, so it's essentially based on the vehicle required to move it, generally speaking. So for instance, if it's some flowers or a gift hamper or something like that, we charge $9.96 for the first 10 kilometres. And so that doesn't matter if it's 200 metres or it's 9.9 kilometres. It's at $9.96. As soon as it ticks over the 10, it adds an additional 75 cents. But the system that we've built in, it is based on the distance. So it's not a round up or a round down. It's on the exact distance from point A to point B is what the customers charge. So it's a fixed price service, which we found a lot of our business customers appreciate, because they can get that quote and pass it straight to their customers, and whether they want to put 10 or 20% on top of our price, if they're charging their customers for that, it gives them certainty, and they know exactly what they're going to be charged for that delivery. It goes up from there. So we've got medium, large, extra large, XXL. So the XXL, you're getting up to flat tray utes and vans, small trucks. That base service for the first 10 kilometres is $32.47. And then after that, it goes to $1.25 a kilometre for that. The large is $19.60, and then $1 a kilometre. Medium's $13.17 for the first 10, and then it's 75 cents a kilometre thereafter. What we found with our research with our competitors is that puts us as front runners in the express service. We're actually cheaper with our standard express service than most of them are with their three hour or same day offerings. Obviously, there'll be a little bit more of a play around, like we did here in Hobart. We entered the market with an original price, and then as we sort of took feedback from the customers as to where they saw the price point at, there's a bit of room there to play, particularly upwards, as we say it, because we've got a lot of room to go up and increase our price and still be cheaper than anyone else in that space. Which gives us great confidence. We provide drivers with 85% of the overall cost of the job, which also puts us in a really good stead with the other drivers. And for them, it means they're going to be preferring, I would imagine, our platform over the others by getting such a higher percentage of the base fees.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. We've got two questions from Peter around, because he's mentioned that he sees primary issues within smaller towns, particularly say under 2,000 people living in those towns. And he's asking whether you've considered the hub and spoke ideas for your business model.
Look, you can never say never, but the problem with the hub and spoke idea is that you end up having all the same issues that the traditional bricks and mortar premise guys have, not being able to make the delivery in the right amount of time, having too many people handle it, they're driving, spending way too much time, particularly when you're talking fresh product like hampers, groceries, flowers, things like that. It's just taking too much time and having, being handled too much. It would have to be looked into further to find a model that's still improved on the traditional hub and spoke system. I guess, yeah, it's a difficult one. The smaller towns, what we found is that a lot of them don't have access to that delivery, particularly if you're talking food or bottle shop delivery and things like that. So you don't necessarily need to have 400 drivers in a 2,000 person town. You may only have 10 businesses using the service, and you've got four guys that without advertising, you get 4 guys on board, and they become your mainstay drivers in that town, covering those deliveries using the platform. I understand what you're saying with the smaller towns, and yes, it does make it a lot more difficult, but we really just want to stay at this stage quite true to our model of that express service. As soon as we start deviating away from it, I just see that we're going to encounter a lot of those issues and those, particularly the complaints and negative feedback that a lot of these other guys get.
Absolutely. Another question from Frank, actually. So how do you plan through your capital raising campaign to stay in touch with your investors, and what does that look like for yourself over the next few weeks and months?
With the investors, as in for anybody that does invest after the raise, or are we talking about before the completion of the round?
And a bit of both. I think Frank specifically wants to know what your plan is to keep in touch with investors after they make an investment in a CSF raise.
Oh, look, we would envisage essentially you'd be part of the business. And that would depend on, we'd certainly be in contact straight afterwards. But if there's anybody out there that's investing, that particularly in this field, that thinks they've got something to offer to us in that space, whether it's advice or perhaps taking a seat on the board or something later at the stage, we'd certainly be open for that. But any investors, we would, at the moment, it's Zane and myself, and we funded this all ourselves by taking people's money to help grow. We are really going to feel that obligation to be in regular contact and provide updates on what is going on and what we're doing with the investors' money. It's a bit daunting. We've never gone down the track with banks or anything like that. We've self-funded, so it's a bit of a new space. Basically, people putting their trust in you with their money to make it work, and so we feel that there should be full transparency there, and keep in regular contact, and we'll be always available. If anybody wants to call and have a chat and just discuss how things are going, we're not going to have big contact forms on the website that people need to fill in to get for us to get back to them. They'll all have our personal numbers, and they can give us a call at any time to go through any issues or questions that they have.
Absolutely. We've got a couple of more questions from Callum and Zane talking about very similar things. So as you're expanding, say, into mainland Australia, what's your plan to retain your drivers in the bigger cities that you're working with? And how do you make sure that they're compliant?
So the compliance, the compliance side of things, that's with all the background checks and the vehicle checks and things like that we undertake through the system. As far as retaining the drivers, like I sort of mentioned earlier, because of the earning capacity, the amount, the difference between what our drivers can earn and what they can earn on a different platform, and I guess our small business mentality, in the sense that we personally contact every driver that comes on. we give them a run through on the system. They've got the contact details to get in touch with us at any time for any of those issues. We provide a 24/7 helpline, which there's somebody that's always available to answer that, and then somebody will always call them back immediately to sort that out, because it's just as much about supporting the driver as keeping to our 1 hour delivery guarantee. Because if a driver's calling us because they can't find the address and we're not answering the phone, the driver is going to lose interest in our platform very quickly, and then at the same time the customers not going to be particularly impressed if we haven't been able to deliver on our promise. And with the drivers, that's another thing. We haven't advertised for drivers down here, and that's all organic as well. So one guy talks to his friends about it, and then they jump on. So since the initial Gumtree ads, we haven't actively recruited for drivers in that way. And there's a lot of community chat groups and forums and things, and what we found is that one or two guys will get on there and say, if you used this app before, and then that's how we tend to pick up a lot of our drivers. And I think the other thing too is that because there isn't that pressure of getting kicked off the app for not taking jobs, the guys, they may not use it for a couple of weeks or a month. We've got nurses and teachers and things like that jump on during the school holidays just to earn a little bit of extra cash to save for a holiday and things like that. And then they'll disappear again. We won't see them for 3 or 4 months, but then they come back because they know that they can do that. And there's not that pressure. And we've also, I guess, a point of difference is from time to time you get deliveries that for whatever reason it just doesn't look appealing to the drivers, and they just look at it and go, I just really don't want to take that. So we basically just offer an incentive thing. We just to any of the drivers that we've seen have been active within the last half hour, we just basically make contact with all of those and just say, look, hey, for this job, we're happy to wear a loss on it. We'll boost that job by an extra $15 or $5 or whatever it may be if you're interested in taking it. And when we find that is a successful way of doing it, it keeps the customers happy because the delivery is still made in time. The driver's happy because for whatever reason that they didn't want to take it in the first place, that little bit of extra money tends to soothe those issues for them. So.
That is amazing. So Peter's just told you that he's definitely in and he wants to know what's next. So talk to us a bit more about your campaign and when it starts and what it looks like for yourself.
So the campaign, it was closing, it's closing on Monday, 29th at 10 p.m. The private offer will go from the 30th to the 31st. For people interested there, and then the open offer is from the 1st of April to the 22nd of April off the top of my head. From that point, we've the marketing team that we've been working with, we've essentially put them on standby with the objective of with the successful raise of drafting our marketing strategy for the places that we've identified to roll out next, and then basically get the ramp the tech guys up and the dev to finish and finalise these other things that are currently in the pipeline, basically just accelerate those so that they're ready to basically be all available for our launch into these other markets.
Is absolutely amazing. That's all the questions that we have from everybody, and it looks like we're exactly done at 1 p.m. So that's fantastic. Thanks everybody for coming, and I just urge everybody to invest as quickly as you can, because the EOI campaign looks like it's about to end on the end at the end of Monday. And bring along your friends and family and anybody else that you think would be interested. Actually, one last question that we have from Lasita is, how do you see investors getting a return on their investment?
Okay. Well, so I mean, it's with the stage of our business. I don't count on a dividend check in the first quarter, but essentially it's building the brand and growing to a point that obviously with being profitable enough to be able to pay out a dividend, be, I guess, recognised by some other players in the market who are perhaps interested in buying out. But what we found from this virtual campaign so far is that we've had quite a bit of interest from some varying VCs around the country, and what they've said to us is at this stage where we're a bit too early for them to come on board, but they're really excited about what we're doing and the potential fit that we could be to some of their other investments that they're currently involved with. I guess long term, I guess if we're going down that track, obviously the dream would be to list on the ASX at some point. But at this stage, what you're investing in is part. You're going to be a part owner of our company, and you'll come along with us. And as we grow, and hopefully our value increases, then your percentage of ownership in our business will obviously carry along with that also.
That's absolutely fantastic, guys. Thank you so much for making the time, both Mark, Zane, and everybody else that showed up today. We'll keep in touch, obviously, and Mark and Zane will be sending some emails out in the coming days, and be sure to express interest if you haven't already, and bring along your friends and family. All right.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Ash.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us.
All right. Catch everyone later.
Cheers. See ya.